Mike Turner, thanks for coming.
Yeah, appreciate you, brother.
It's good to, I like having people on the podcast. Like, we've hung out peripherally, but we haven't really talked one-on-one. So
Yes.
This will be great. It'll be a good chance for us to get to know each other. We're both involved in, as comedians, and somewhat producing or organizing shows, so we can kind of talk/vent about that, which will be super fun.
You trying to just vent, dude? Let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not like a venti type of guy.
Yeah,
even every time I say something even slightly venti, I always regret it. I'm like, why did I say that?
Yeah, right. I feel you. Well, because in the big scheme of things, you don't know what you're saying, and then you might piss off the weird person, and then all of a sudden they're mad at you for years because they heard you on a podcast venting about them. And it's like, dude, I wasn't even talking about you specifically, but also you've done that before.
Right.
So maybe look within.
There's, even with, like, to a friend, sometimes you have to let things out, and you talk to a friend and you're like, I don't know if I should have even said that to her. Even to a friend, sometimes you're like, that's too much.
Yeah. But also, you need to vent sometimes.
Yeah, you gotta let it out. You know,
gotta let it out.
You keep it inside, that's not going to be good for life.
It's not healthy. I'm Irish Catholic, so I know. That's literally my whole life. Just keeping things internal.
You know, when you said Irish Catholic, so I think I'm a quarter Irish.
Okay.
But I've never gone down the road to figure out if it's Irish Catholic or not.
It probably is. What's the other one? Protestant?
I
think it's either Irish Catholic or Irish Protestant.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
Irish not Catholic?
You're definitely, you fuck with God heavy on that quarter of yourself.
It is Irish Catholic and Irish Muslim. That's what
I think that, you know what, good call, yeah. Buddhist. I don't think you see a lot of Buddhist temples over there.
Yeah, so I should dive down there because I guess I'm technically a quarter quarter Scottish and eighth Irish, actually.
Okay.
And then an eighth English. And then the whole other side is Moroccan. So.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's exciting, though. I definitely have, like, the Irish roots. My mom's last name is Moody.
Okay.
And then, so that's, like, just as Irish as you can get. And then their side is just all the stereotypical Irish energy that you see made fun of on television shows and stuff.
Right.
Like every Dennis Leary show is my family.
Oh, nice.
And then, it's nice, but then you realize I hate every Dennis Leary show. And then, but yeah, that's a lot of like, we can drink though with the best of them.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
It is important. I would love to go sometime. I've been to England, never been to Scotland or Ireland. I would love to go.
My mom went, and my uncle Jack has this whole like, he didn't even do 23andMe and all that shit. He did like real research on his own because we have a lot of stuff that goes back pretty far. So we have like, if I ever went, we got it mapped out like where my great grandparents got married and shit like that. And then we have the true Irish American like origin story. We came over on a boat to what's that island? Ellis Island, right?
Ellis, yeah.
Came over, opened a bar in Brooklyn.
Oh,
and
wow.
that's who our family is.
So it's like what's that movie, Gangs of New York?
Sure, or Five Goes West. It's one of them, yeah. Yeah, it is kind of Gangs of New York-ish. They were definitely there, yeah, like mid to late 1800s. Just opened a bar in Brooklyn.
Right, and doing it.
Fucking A.
It's pretty cool just to be like, I trust that it's going to work out and just get on a... Like, think about how much research we do before we go to a taco place.
Yeah, 100%.
And they're like, we're going to get on a boat.
I've heard it's nice.
Yeah.
That's very true. A lot of faith.
Yeah.
A lot of faith.
I always think about... Did you ever play video games a little bit?
Sure, yeah.
Grand Theft Auto, was it 4? The one in New York?
Okay.
With Nico Bellic?
I never did those, but okay.
Okay, so it's
I'm
like
familiar.
Basically the same thing. He's like in, I think, Serbia or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, my buddy, he's like, oh, I'm just a millionaire out here in America. Get on a boat. He gets on a boat, and he's like some dumpy guy in like the projects and like all this whole thing.
Yeah, and just starts. It is I mean, that's the thing about America is people just think they can just come over here and do shit. And honestly, if you do it with the right mentality, you can.
Yeah. I mean, I think even for me, I'm coming from Canada, which is hardly a third world country.
Sure.
But I mean, maybe some Americans think it is, but like with the healthcare system, but it's actually fine. It's the same as you've been there, right?
Yeah, I've been to Toronto. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same. It's slightly different.
It felt very much like Toronto is a weird one to be introduced to because that feels like it is a little mini New York.
Well, it's
energy.
the fourth largest city in North America.
Yeah.
So it's still like feels the same. It's so close to Detroit, so close to all these other places. But you come here and there is this American dream opportunity that just isn't in other places.
Jay-Z, he raps about it all the time.
Yeah, I'm a fan. Mm-hmm. Yeah, New York State of Mind. Yeah, and even when you get to New York, like I lived there for a while, and you get there and it's like, oh, you feel the energy here of like people just doing stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dude, New York is stressful. It can be stressful, but I always love it because there's only a few cities in America where I think there's probably only a few cities in the world where you can go and you feel the energy of a city immediately. Because LA, sometimes the energies, you can feel the energy here, but it's so chill that you really have to like lean back into the energy here.
Right.
Whereas New York, you're like punched in the face.
Yeah, you can chill your way to success here.
You really can. If you catch the right vibes,
catch the right wave.
You're killing it out here. But yeah, New York's got energy. Paris had energy. I was there. And London, stuff like that. Like those big cities. I also think Seattle has energy. I don't know if you've been.
Yeah, I lived there for a while. Yeah.
I always thought Seattle has like a dope energy too.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I think I was more regularly employed there, so it was less of like a hustle.
Sure.
But it felt cool. It was the first time I met hipsters was in Seattle, like in Capitol Hill.
Okay.
I was like, what? They're like they're making like good food and hipstery stuff. It was like the first time I had really seen hipsters.
I'm not familiar with that. But then I lived in Phoenix, downtown Phoenix. If you want to see some hipsters, they're there. I don't know why.
I went on my honeymoon to Camelback Mountain.
Really? I was going to say, hopefully not downtown Phoenix, but right. Camelback's nice.
It was so nice. Everyone in the state was so pleasant.
Really?
Yeah.
That's, you know what? Yeah. For the most part. Sometimes it's a fake nice, but like,
okay.
They're, because it's a lot of Midwest people, and we've mastered fake nice.
Midwest people have?
Yeah. We sell it. It's
Canadians have that too. There's like a niceness, but there's also like an anger. That's like way down.
That's what they say about as you get more north, like Minnesota has that too. I think that's the root of every Fargo season, pretty much. It's just that anger down
below. Like you're so nice, but I will put your body in the wood chipper.
Right, because it's been this cold for 5 months and I'm angry at everything.
Right. But I do love Arizona. I need to spend more time there.
Yeah, it was cool. That's where I started doing comedy. Yeah. So that's where I started doing stand-up, and then like a couple years in, I just started pivoted to running shows. It was funny. It was probably like a year in. I kind of fell into it with this club that I was at, and I was like, clearly, young comics, sometimes people are better than others like early. I definitely like 8-9 months in, I remember being like, oh, I could do this, in a way where other people viewed it and they were like, oh, you're probably going to be good.
Yeah.
And you're not bad right now. And so the club owner saw that I had a good network of people, and he was like, why don't you run this Sunday thing? And it was kind of like a bringer type energy.
Yeah.
But you're naive and you're like, yeah, I can do that. I got friends. And it's only, every show's a fucking bringer if you're a producer, right? You need to bring an audience.
Yeah.
So from that angle, and then also you want to book people that maybe can draw.
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess technically
people need to get to the place somehow.
Yeah, we need an audience.
Are you going to advertise to them? Yeah. Does the club have a built-in audience, or does the comedian have a built-in audience?
Yeah.
Or does the producer have a built-in audience?
By
Someone
definition,
has to have it.
Somebody's bringing people to this thing.
Yeah, there has to be people moving to the location.
Mm-hmm.
Just the show label of a bringer show is the connotation of it always leads towards.
I think a lot of times it's the energy of the producer, right? It's like, you're making me feel like I have to do this.
Right.
Whereas like the verbiage should always be like, hey, if you bring people, it'll be a better show.
Right.
And also if you're good enough, you should believe in yourself, where people should see you do comedy.
Yeah.
It's funny to.
It's always nice when like the comedians promote the show too. Yeah. And I understand like usually some shows there's different incentives. Some shows you're getting paid a lot more or less. Some you got to focus on, but like when the show gets promoted by the people on it, that helps too.
Yes, 100%. My mentality on that was always, so I started doing that show, and that lasted like, it was like a Sunday showcase show, right? And I would just book locals, and then it was kind of a deal where I would say, and there was money too. Like I didn't pay everybody a lot, but I would say, I would have the audience vote for whoever did. It was crowd favorite and club favorite, and whoever did that won money and a club spot on the weekend. So it's like, that's not bad.
No, it's not bad.
For coming up in a scene, like that's a show that every scene has.
They don't have that in this scene.
100%. Yeah, guaranteed stage time if you do well. No, that's not gonna happen.
No.
So that was an interesting thing to like get into the show running thing with that angle though, because then I remember, because I'd really learned quickly what I didn't want to do. You don't really want to do that. It just felt more like a hustle than I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Whereas you really just want to produce a really good show that like to what we're saying, like how you want people to promote it. My mentality on that was always like, I need to produce a good enough show where they want to promote it.
Yes.
When they're booked on it, they're like proud of being on it.
Yeah.
And then you share the flyer and then you also put a good flyer together that you're not, that you're proud of people sharing. That's another thing, like the visuals of it. Like, don't give them a fucking like.
Right. I was on one recently where my face was cropped to like super thin. I was like this big.
And you're next to a microphone.
Yeah.
Like, why is there microphones on every goddamn poster? It's like, we get it's a comedy show.
Yeah.
If there's not this old school microphone, will I know that it's a comedy show?
Right.
I'm not sure.
It is interesting that the mic has survived comedy because it never moved to like, you don't really need it.
Also, we do not use that mic that they usually use anymore, right? Like that old mic that they always put in the photos.
Oh, you're talking about like the cheesy mic, like
yes,
the one that looks like a soul singer from the 50s.
Yeah, like fucking.
It's like Chrome.
Yeah, exactly. Like Billie Holiday's on the show. Also,
yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I had someone make a show poster for me once. I'm like, take that microphone out of there.
Yeah, what are you doing? Figure it out. Evolve. But yeah, that was an interesting way to get into like show producing. It's always funny because how long were you doing comedy before you got into producing shows?
I started the same year. I started producing a show because I had the opportunity at where the Comedy Bunker was.
Okay.
So as I was starting, I just pitched them the idea basically, and
that's awesome.
I thought they were going to say no, and they're like, "Yeah, do it, just whatever, as long as it doesn't cost us any money."
Isn't that the best?
Yeah.
When you have a good like relationship with the venue too, like that, because I deal with. As you know, with like Don't Tell, we deal with a lot of different venues. So it's like, last night I did one of the best dudes you could deal with. Yeah. Last week I did one.
Horrible. I mean, that's what interesting thing about Don't Tell is that like, let's explain what Don't Tell is first, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So Don't Tell Comedy is what I produce out here in Los Angeles. I started in Phoenix too. So it's weird, but it all kind of goes back to Phoenix with show producing for me. Started it there, but and I shouldn't say I started it, right? It was an established brand by my buddy Kyle, and he started it. I want to say I've been telling people 4 years ago, but I don't know if we're including 2020, right? We don't know how those years work. Like I think it might have been 5 years ago, but who cares?
Right.
So his perspective was, first of all, to create a comedy experience outside of the comedy club experience that we all know as comedy, as we've kind of defined it. And so he would partner with unique venues and spaces that typically would not ever, sometimes not even hold events, let alone a comedy show. And we would turn that space into a comedy show for the night. The other cool aspect that we do is the individuals that buy tickets, you don't know where the location is till day of. And then we don't have a bill. So we don't have a lineup.
Right.
We have a lineup, right? But you don't know the lineup.
It's hidden.
Hidden lineup, yeah.
Secret lineup.
Lineup, right? So secret lineup, secret location. And then day of, you're going to get an email with the location. So the best thing about the secret stuff, some people are like, why don't you just do that, blah, blah, blah. Like, think about the audience that we're able to attract, though. The people that buy a ticket knowing nothing about the location and nothing about the lineup. That is a comedy fan. Somebody that truly wants to just go experience comedy. And the other thing that we're always conscious of is booking a good enough show where obviously you can only do that a couple times before an audience member is like, this is a trash lineup. So obviously you have to have a good lineup, right? And that's another thing we're able to do. We tap into good networks like that. And so that's what we've been doing for the past 4 years. And with the current state of things, we were actually really uniquely set up to come back in COVID times. And we've just been doing it outdoors, making sure everybody's comfortable. And Kyle started 4 years ago and now in LA. And before the pandemic, we were operating in 45 cities.
Wow.
So yeah, all over America. And honestly, like I remember right before I was telling him, I was like, dude, I think I got some London plugs. Like we should.
Oh yeah, that'd be dope.
Which London is a great scene if you've never been there. Like, and that'd be there's people that would do shit like this there too. So we're trying to go international. But yeah, so that's kind of the core of what it is. And we've been doing outdoor shows. So with the outdoor stuff, like a lot of like yoga studios, they're doing stuff outdoors, gyms.
The first Don't Tells I did as a performer, they were all outside anyway. So like you guys were kind of doing the outside thing before it was like required.
especially in LA, right?
Yeah.
And I was in Phoenix, so I
Right,
had a
yeah.
couple of really cool outdoor anywhere that obviously, yeah, it's comfortable at night. Phoenix gets a little hot once June, July comes around, but like, yeah, it's cool. So we've been doing that, and I started in Phoenix and came out here, and they had some people that were actually running it along with Kyle for a number of years, and they ended up actually opening up their own comedy club back east. So
Nice.
yeah,
Which one?
so it's you know what, I don't know what it's called.
Okay.
But and honestly, I don't know if it's open yet, but like the announcement of like this is a thing.
Yeah.
It is, but
Coming in March 2020. Actually, just kidding. Hold on.
I know, right? They're about to open.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what we do. So we do that all over. Right now, we're not in 45 cities operating yet. But last night, I think if you look at so don'ttellcomedy.com, check it out, and then you can see all the cities we're currently operating in. I think it's up to like 15, 20 right now already.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And we talked about audience. So like doing it the way you guys are doing, which is no lineup, no location. Don't Tell is the audience. So
Right.
it's like there's no question. You're like, we're coming for Don't Tell. We're not coming because there's a big star. There might be big stars.
Sure.
But it really focuses the business to be, you guys are in control, which allows it to expand to different cities and allows, I'm sure your shows sell out very quickly.
Sometimes, you know what's weird is a lot of it is actually like week of, but we also like, I might find a venue 2 weeks before, right?
Yeah,
so our
yeah.
time turnaround is pretty interesting, but a lot of times they don't move until we just shoot an email out. So we have the email list of you know, a bunch of people, and I hope I'm not, you know, exposing our entire business model, but like, because we definitely do some certain things that I think are just you know, Kyle has a good team of people that are really sharp. There's some stuff going on above me where I'm like, I don't even know how we get these people, find these people, but I know we've got an audience built up, and the fact that they keep coming, a lot of it is word of mouth. Like, you had 40 people in El Segundo last night. I know they had a crazy good time because I was there, and it was fun, right? And they hung out after, and they were like, what the hell was this? And a lot of the times I'm just like, just tell your friends. Like, in the, you know, we use so many different ways of reaching people these days with social media and all this shit. At our core, if I tell you something's good, that is always gonna
Trumps everything, yeah.
everything.
Because now we can't. Social media is becoming like other media. It's like you get ads for like these cheap products that suck, and
You don't
then,
trust
like,
anything.
No.
It feels super impersonal. Yeah, at our core, human beings still want to just be told what to do by a friend. It's like, dude, you have to do this. You've got to go. You have to watch this new Michael B. Jordan movie.
Yeah.
You have to do it. And I've told multiple people that. And they don't really have to, but I told them to. And they're going to feel bad next time I see them if they haven't.
Yeah, Creed 4. Let's go watch it.
Creed 4, yeah.
Or whatever
First of
Creed
all,
we're on, yeah.
No, the last movie he made was literally Creed 2 with automatic weapons. It's amazing. He's just fighting Russians. Yeah, he's not, well, it's not Creed. It's some Tom Clancy movie, but he's going against Russians. It's beautiful.
Nice. I'll check it out.
Get in there.
I'm in there. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
But that's the thing is, like, I think you highlight another thing, which is email is actually one of the most important social medias. Like,
Which is, and it's almost like
you can't
it's so
discount
old
it.
school too now, right?
It can't be controlled. It can't be de-algorithmed, right?
Yeah.
They can't wake up and be like, actually, the way email is going to work today is this because of that.
Yeah.
You own it 100%, and they can't take it away from you.
And it's super easy to filter. If I don't want that, you're going in this other folder, or I'm just unsubscribing. That's the nice thing about email is it's still usually pretty easy to unsubscribe from some shit. Like, if you don't want it, you're not going to get it. So if you get it, you inherently clearly want that email, right? And so yeah, it's great. That's been really powerful for us. And yeah, last night we did a show. It was only like 40 something people, but you know how it is. 40 tickets are still hard to move in LA sometimes. There was like 8 tickets sold leading up to it, and then we sent an email out, and it sold out in like literally probably 10 minutes.
How do you? Because like that, the having an email list is almost like having like drugs in the house or like alcohol. You're like, I'm gonna use it.
Yeah.
And then you get a couple, you're like, oh, should I use it again?
Yeah.
Like, how do you guys control like how often to send those emails?
So the emails are actually, they're going to come. We're doing shows weekly in LA.
Yeah.
So you're getting that email weekly. What we try to do is you diversify the area in which you tap into, right? So the nice thing that we have is we don't have one fixed location. Mm-hmm. So if we do have one fixed location, with COVID, we've been conscious of like partnering with, different locations more consistently, because I think that it's nice for an audience to know, like, I've been to this location, just with, it's a global pandemic.
Yeah.
Right. So like knowing like I've been to this place, I'm comfortable with this place. I thought that was important. So we did partner with a couple places. But the way that we switch it up is you don't oversaturate that certain neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So, we've got a Hollywood place, Venice, El Segundo last night. Like, you spread out. And that's the nice thing about LA is there's so many pockets you can hit. So it's, we do kind of oversaturate the email list, but also it might not be in your neighborhood that week. So
yeah. I still, when people unsubscribe from the email list, I'm like, oh.
Missed one.
Yeah, there goes one.
It was probably my joke about Hitler last week. Oh.
Yeah. Oh, no, I mean, I don't think they're doing it because of the show. I feel like it's sometimes because of the blasts.
Fair. Like, annoyance.
Yeah, they're like, okay, I've been a couple times. I don't need to see this every week.
Fair.
And that's an interesting thing, too, because it's like maybe that person still wants to come, but they don't want to be told about it every week. That's the one downfall for email for me. It's like, I'd like to be able to keep people in, but out. Or it's like, it'd be nice to have an option if you could click and be like, just ignore for 3 months, but I still want to be notified later.
Fair. Yeah, I think, the next thing that we're working on is the way that we communicate with our audience, because there's so many different technologies you can use, where like you could say certain things to certain people based on how many times they've bought a ticket, if that makes sense. Like, if I know you've gone to 10 shows, your email tone might be different, because you're like ride or die. You're like, thank you, you're committed, blah, blah, blah. We know what's up. If you've never bought a ticket, then maybe we can send a different email. So there's a lot of like different things you can do, which is cool. That's, that's how technology is advancing.
Have you guys done A/B testing where you're like, they basically divide the audience between two different versions of the same email. Okay. And then you kind of look at it and be like, oh, okay, which one responded better? Interesting.
No, you know what? Honestly, they might like that. So that stuff, I know the people that do that, and they're like, I talk to them and I'm like, you're way smarter than
this is your area.
I'm going to produce the show. And that's that. And also like knowing what you're good at within these things too. Like, one thing I knew when I moved out here is like, I've spent, after a year I was producing shows in a club. And then by the end of the time in Phoenix, I was producing my own shows independently. I was producing Don't Tell shows. I was producing a weekly show at a club. So like, I not only produce shows, but I produce like different types of shows. Those like, that's like doing a club show or having a partnership with a club on a weekly basis. That's a completely different hustle,
right?
And there's real pressure there too, and like stakes,
because you're constantly being evaluated.
So that's a whole thing, right? And then I did my own at a wine bar called Genuine was the wine bar, and I was like,
that's
fuck
such a good name,
dude. I know.
It's just funny. Sitting there, dude. That name is just sitting there,
dude. Then what do you call the comedy show, right? Genuine Comedy, right?
Yeah.
But I'm sitting there for like, I swear, 2-3 weeks. I'm like, what am I going to call it? It's got to be something cool.
Yeah.
Turner, like Turner and Friends. Yeah. Whatever.
Pony comedy. No, too weird.
Well, no, I didn't even think. It's literally like sitting right in front of me. I remember like after 2 weeks, I was like, oh, I'll just call it Genuine Comedy.
Yeah.
And I'll fucking make Genuine on every poster.
Yeah.
And then I did that. And then we started leaning into, I like recreated Genuine albums, and there's only 3. So you run out of that pretty quick. But the branding of that was, I was just literally on dope like R&B albums from the 90s, and it was me as like
in
Justin
Photoshop?
Timberlake. Yeah. I got a buddy Anwar who's like a killer Photoshop dude, and and a comic, and I produce shows with him. I shouldn't undersell him, but he always helped with those, and so that ended up being it. Talking about branding again of a show, I made a poster that I would book people, and it would be like, this is kind of a cool poster to share, and your name's on it. So I was always conscious of that too. It's like, I want you to want to share this.
You got to be proud of it. Like, I think if you share a photo of like me at Don't Tell, there's like you get associated with that positive brand. So if the show is a positive brand, it becomes desirable to share. Mm-hmm. And then there's a catch-22 is that then people who want to be on the show to get that brand, to get the kind of like a stamp of approval.
Oh, the emails that I get? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, no, it's just like part of people want stage time.
Sure.
But there's also the desire to be like, I'm good enough for that show.
Right.
Which is the same. I believe the reason why the Improv is very selective about the photography at their shows because they want to make sure.
So is the store.
Yeah. So they want to make sure that, hey, if you're photographed here, we're kind of approving you. It's kind of in a way says you're good enough for this stage.
Yeah. Blessing you.
Yeah, exactly. And so people want to be on like the hot shows to kind of get that approval in a way to get the next show. Mm-hmm. Which is probably not, if that's your reason for doing it, it shouldn't be the only reason.
Yeah. Figure some things out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look within yourself to find more.
Right.
It is, yeah. But that's the other thing. We're always conscious of getting good photos too. Mm-hmm. That's like huge.
Basically, everyone needs like a photographer walking around. Like we all need like 24/7 photos, and it's nuts. It's demanding.
You will run a show. You ever run a show like one of the best shows you've ever run, and you just didn't have coverage of it? That's one of the most frustrating things.
That hasn't happened in a while because in the early days, yes, there were so many shows where I just didn't know we needed a photographer, and it wasn't a thing. Something clicked where it's like every show. They even have photographers at open mics now.
Yeah, it's a little
much, but like.
Well, I also think they're open mic photographers. You know what I mean? They're just trying to figure out what photography is. They're trying to master.
That's so funny.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Open photogs. I don't know what it would be.
Open photog.
Open pics. But so that's a whole different thing because that's a hustle. Mm-hmm. You want to talk about the business of photography within a comedy scene, like go back to Phoenix because that's where most of my shit comes from. But like I remember talking to this girl, Holly Beaupre.
Okay.
She's a good friend of mine. She's awesome, right? I meet her when she's like 20 years old and she's bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, trying to be like in the comedy. She just loves comedy, right?
Yeah.
And so she meets with me. I'm doing this weekly show at this point at this bar called Crescent Ballroom. It's a really fun weekly show, and we're kind of trying to grow it. And she's like, I'd love to be able to come in and help you guys with photos and video and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, the producer mindset, I was like, oh, we need coverage. Like, we had somebody taking pictures, but it was just a fan of the show, and that's cool. And, but, you know, professional photos would be nice. Got her in there. And I remember I told her, I was like, I can't pay you a lot because we're not making that much. So I'll be real with you. But if I was you, because I knew what like people like Just Off the Six in LA is
about to bring him up. Yeah.
Yeah. He's amazing. In New York, it's called With Reservation. Her name's Mindy. If you catch a photo by this chick named Mindy, it's called I Got Me a Mindy, right? Like it's like a thing.
Yeah.
Like it's
yeah.
like a fucking verb.
It's currency.
Dude, it's crazy. I got a Mindy last night.
Right.
To your point, right? Like being anointed with a photo.
Right. And if you're a performer, you're like, well, I'm going to do this show. It's good. And I'm going to leave here with a dope photo and possibly like a portrait photo.
Maybe a new Facebook profile for my mom to see. It's big. And so I told her earlier, I was like, I can't pay you a lot. Mm-hmm. But if I was you, what I would do is I would come here every week. And our show was cool. It was Thursday late night in Phoenix. And it was late. It was like 11. So the nice thing is if you were working a club that weekend, any of the clubs, Thursday shows at 8, you'd be done at 10. So I would tap into headliners and features that were in town. So we would have, you know, I knew enough of them where I'd just DM them and be like, hey, you want to pull up to this late night show? It'll be fun, blah, blah. So we got a lot of really cool comics that came through. So what I told her was I said I would come here every week and I would network with these comics that are on these shows. A lot of them are not going to be worth your time, but enough of them will be people that you should know from other cities and shit like that. And I would get to know everybody and really kind of sink into this if this is what you want. Because she was like, I want to take photos and I love comedy. And fast forward, this is 4 or 5 years ago probably, and I put her, I had her taking pics of all my shows. I never want to flex too hard, but like I was like the dude in Phoenix that you would want to know. If there's always somebody in every scene where it's if you talk to that person, he can get you booked on multiple things.
Right.
Whoever that person is.
You're the plug.
I was the plug in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And
I've always wanted to use that word, and I first time
I've always wanted somebody to call me that too. So this is a big moment for both of us. And so I told her that, and I was like, just come to all these shows and meet everybody, and also I would be like, when somebody was coming 1 week, I was like, I would talk to that person. They're pretty big in New York, or this person's huge in LA, whatever. And yeah, fast forward now, she's like she's making money doing photos in comedy. She's working with a production company called Broken Drift Productions. She does comedy festivals now. She got invited to South by Southwest last year before the pandemic, but she'll probably go when it comes back this year. Like, just really cool. Like, I never take any credit beyond just saying this is what I would do. She's done everything, but it was cool to watch like how it actually did work. And now if Don't Tell is ever in an area where she's at, Holly Beaupre, she's taking those pictures. She takes amazing photos, and it's been cool to see. So like, that's part of the business too.
Yeah,
you
she
can just be a
invested in
photog.
herself. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you take dope pictures in comedy, we are all so vain that we love you and we need you.
Yeah, and it's not super easy. Like, it
No.
requires skill. And the best ones in LA, like, why they're the best. They take the best photos.
Yeah.
Like, you can see them. You can see how good they are. And yeah, and then exactly, you're in a scene, and then all of a sudden you shoot a good photo of someone who's very established, and they're like, "Oh, can you do a photo shoot?" Now you have a photo shoot or a portraits gig.
Yeah.
Outside of that, and
100%.
that's a lot more money usually.
Yeah.
Than like a comedy show.
That's
and you have a reel. You have a reel of like people who are on Netflix.
Yeah, 100%. Your picture might end up in the huge publication or something.
Yeah.
Like she just did. I remember Pete Lee just filmed his Showtime special coming out later this year in Phoenix, and I plugged him up, and she took pictures. Pete Lee, one of the best dudes ever,
He's
right?
the best.
Plugged them up, and she got to shoot for a Showtime thing. And you know who wasn't good at photographing for that night? Whoever Showtime hired. And so I think they're going to use her pictures.
Yeah, yeah.
Because like they looked at both and it was like, oh, these are the better pictures.
Right.
And so then
It's also like
she's
been shooting, I assume, like sometimes not good lighting at like
Right.
a park
Yes.
or like a backyard. And now you're like, oh, now I'm shooting with like proper lighting. Like, let's go. Like,
Yeah, I feel like the shooting live shows in general like definitely enhances your ability to do anything else.
yeah, because you have to make it work.
Yeah. And I know I've done some shows that I personally have not lit well. You know what I mean? Because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah, we're just like one here. That's good. Yeah.
This is fine, right?
Right, yeah.
And then somebody's like, you're a moron. And I'm like, I know I'm a moron, but you don't have to say it.
Right.
And do you know anything about lighting? But
it's a whole different animal that I'm assuming the lighting looks okay. I think videography is going to be the next thing. It's like, if you want to break in now, don't show up with a camera, show up with video and make some cool clips. Even if like, there's no actual stand up in it, there's just like something set to music where it's like shows like a montage of the show.
Sizzler
like,
reel.
A sizzle.
Yeah.
You come up to dope shows and shoot a sizzle.
Dude.
I'll have you there every week.
Yes. 100%. A good sizzler, because I'm trying to fucking get this show going.
Yeah.
People don't need to hear one joke, but if I put this new, like, whatever.
Comic, name, something moving text.
Over a new Migos song.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat.
Right.
Yeah, like a lot of action, cuts, hard cuts.
Yeah, yeah. Cuts to the crowd, people laughing.
Yeah.
Sponsor the beer.
Sure, maybe a slow-mo, like, pan.
Oh, yeah,
Come on.
yeah. Oh, a drone shot? You come up with a drone?
You're selling out next couple weeks, dude. Hopefully.
Go get at us with a drone.
Yeah.
How much is a drone? Like $100?
They got to be cheap now. I don't think $100 seems like a bad drone.
I mean, you need one that can hold a camera. I don't know how.
No, they have them
works.
in it, dude. It's nuts. Now a drone is just a flying camera.
Oh yeah, why would I assume? I'm in my head. It's got to like hold the camera.
Yeah, and then you control it from your phone, and then you try not to crash it. Also, very stressful. Last time I tried to fly a drone, it was inside a bar, and I was hammered, and we ended up breaking a fan or two.
Yeah, I don't understand why it's so hard. Like they figured out everything with a drone except that it can't seem to stay up.
Right. It can't like stabilize where it is.
Yeah, it's like it constantly needs human input. Like
Sure.
This seems like a solvable problem.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up, down, let's go. It's like it needs constant like attention.
I think this was the issue that Bill and Melinda split on. I think that's what it is. He's going to go do that. That's his next passion project is solving drone stability. Yeah. He couldn't figure out the stability in his marriage, so I think that's it.
That's good. Yeah. I've been trying so hard to do a Bill Gates joke, and everyone's like, "Stop doing it."
Well, it's like you gotta. It's one of those things too. I always do you always have to be conscious of whatever the hot topic is. Either you write the best joke, or you make a joke that's personal to you about it.
Yeah.
But it either has to be one of those two.
Right.
Like a thing
it's
that...
like the Michael Jackson. Like Chappelle had like one of the best ones. So you're like, okay. Yeah. It's got to be that level.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. It has to be primo.
Right.
But either way, yeah, the drone shot, the videography shit is huge now too. Also with the way that people are consuming, this might be a window of time that this is a thing right now, but we've both seen it just being in comedy, is the short clips that people are sharing.
Yes.
A lot of it's crowd work. A lot of it's new jokes.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it's not like shit that before the pandemic you would not have shared the shit that we're sharing right now. Right. But I think it's because the audience is hungry for live comedy.
It affects the algorithm positively. Like,
yep.
You can put almost any clip on it and you're going to get a lot more attention than a photo. So we all have to walk that line. Like, is it good enough, or should I be putting out just any content? But like, if also you walk away the show as a performer and you get like a 3-cam video, and you can edit later with mic audio.
You're done. Yeah. It could be the worst joke ever, and you're gonna get a few thousand likes.
Yeah.
It is nutty.
And crowd work, like you said.
Crowd work's been big. You put some words over it. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You subtitle that?
Yeah,
come on.
The big neon subtitles that pop.
The people that really go hard on it, I'm like, I don't know what you're doing, but you're spending a lot of time, and it's working.
Yeah, no, I mean, hats off, like, Michael Blaustein?
Sure.
Like, his are fucking so tight.
Yeah.
I'm like, he added like emojis in there and stuff. I'm like, dude, these are fucking next level.
Yeah. He did. I know him well enough where I was with him one time and somebody was asking, he was getting DM'd like, how do you do it? And he was like, I can't tell. I mean, what are we going to tell this person all my tricks? Like, just figure it out. I use this program because it's like we all have most of us have the same access to whatever he's doing. You just got to fucking dig a little deeper.
Well, it's also like, it's kind of a silly question because it's like, it's in the software. Mm-hmm. So unless like he's going to go over to that person's house and actually do it for them, you're like, it's a font, it's a color.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, you either don't know how to use the program or you do.
Right.
It's like, if you know how to use it, you could just be like, all right, I want to do that too.
I'm not doing anything you can't do.
Yeah.
Maybe a little research. But yeah, he does good ones. And the way that people are consuming it right now, though, that's the next wave. And also then you question, like, were we doing it wrong before the pandemic, right? Should we have just been shooting out these loosies? Because a lot of these jokes that we're sharing, like, first of all of us are rusty right now. Like, every joke is newer or, not perfect. But who gives a shit? Like, a lot of people are putting out... I saw somebody's caption the other day that's like, here's this new joke that I'm working on. I'm like... Then don't share it. What are you doing? Work on it.
Yeah, I think different people have different things. Like I have friends who are doing both methods, sharing nothing and sharing everything, and they're both working. So it's like, it's whatever works for you. If you feel comfortable, go by all means. If you don't, then don't.
Adam Ray will share everything. Also, Adam Ray, every show is different, right? Because it's mostly crowd work and him fucking around.
Yeah,
but he definitely does the pedal to the metal, let's fucking get people out. And honestly, it's a very entertaining feed for the most part, right? Like, I'm double tapping a lot of shit. So yeah, it works for him.
Yeah.
But then, there's people that
he was the first one to share a Comedy Bunker video.
Oh, really?
On his feed, to like ask for the video and like caption it and put it up. And he had it up like the next day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's always working. I wonder if he does it or he might have people doing that for him, but
I mean,
at that level,
I'm going to assume he has someone doing it for him.
Yeah, at that level.
I think I emailed it to a person, but
yeah. But that, and then your guys' branding is good when people do capture photos there, and then also video. You have that. I love that the backdrop is the crown, right?
Yeah.
So that's just sharp stuff that like some people don't think about that. But it's like, all right, not only am I going to share you these photos and stuff like that, but my brand is going to be attached to it, and you're going to know. You're going to be like, where's that fucking... Where's that spot?
There's a little bit of mystery.
Yeah.
And I try to make it classy, too. It's like, just feels like not overly saturated. We just we're like subtle. We're like, here's our thing. We just kind of pull back. We're not as in your face.
And I think that's the move. That's the same approach that I usually try to do. But to your point, both perspectives work, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Like I've seen Magic Asphalt pictures every day since December, and it's still obviously working for them.
Yeah, and also like they have different. My show is unique because it wasn't a business.
Right.
It was just for the show. Everything was for the show.
Sure.
So if you're running a business and you have to sell tickets, I mean, our show was free for a long time too. So
was it?
Yeah.
Damn.
So
were you able to recruit? Were you paying comics in? Probably not. Then, right?
It had so many different iterations. Whenever there was any money, we always paid the comics.
Right.
And as it grew, we had sponsors, and then that would give some money. So we never took it as a for-profit thing.
Sure.
I forgot what my point was there, but yeah. Oh yeah, it's different pressure. So like, and now I have Latif and Friends, which is the nightcap, which is like a weekly show.
Yep.
And even still, like, this is hardly life-changing money, but it's like, I want to make sure all the comics get paid, and more importantly, I want to have people there. So it's like that one, I feel like, okay, I have to promote this more, and it's a weekly, so it's like that constant. And I feel like every time I put up a post, I'm like, fuck this again.
And well, yeah, and that's why you almost have to make sure the posts, like, I've seen your artwork is nice. It's not like in your face or anything like that. It intrigues the eye and it brings people in, and it's like also you as a person, people are not. You don't oversaturate yourself, right?
Yeah.
So you seem like somebody that people would support regardless of what's going on. So there's all that stuff. It's crazy how many things go into. First of all, people probably like look at your IG and it's like, okay, I like this, but we really do. There's overthinking everything. What time of day you post it,
right? Seems to be 9 a.m. and 12 is like the two.
I like the early, especially for a post like that because you want to get it all day up there. Catch that wave, and then if you get enough likes from the 9 a.m. post, it's going to sprinkle to the next day, and it's going to post up on a lot of people. If you get it if it gets good traction, it'll still be there tomorrow.
How do you guys handle Instagram ads?
So the weird thing we've done since we were just talking about the videos too. One huge thing that Don't Tell is doing, and if you want to continue following Don't Tell Comedy on Instagram, is you'll find the clips. So what we've been doing at Don't Tell Comedy, which is the main hub of all of it, because beyond that, what we do is we have Don't Tell Comedy Los Angeles, Don't Tell Comedy Austin. So you can follow all those on Instagram. And those are going to be more like focused on the market and when the show is and stuff like that. But at Don't Tell Comedy is kind of pivoted to more video content.
Yeah,
and
I saw that.
We're trying to plug the comics as much as possible.
Because you have captioned clips up there.
Captioned clips. Kyle put a lot of money behind. He loves doing the video stuff and editing, and he really sunk into that.
I've seen your cameras because you guys showed up at you showed up at Paul's low key. Yeah, outside to shoot Jesus Trejo's thing, and I was like, "Oh, these cameras are like, I don't even know what they are, but you could just tell by looking at them, like, okay, this is serious."
Dude, he shows up with a Prius with like a bunch of. I'm like, who is in the Prius? Nobody. It's equipment, and so he has just a bunch of shit he's invested in, and we saw what the Laugh Factory was able to do for a lot of people, and not to say we're trying to like be that, but one thing that we do at Don't Tell is we try to really put newer people on, like to the booking thing that we were talking about earlier. Like, you don't know the lineup, but last night's lineup was just people. I always tell people, like, you might not know the comics that you see, but you should know all of them. And you might not have known these credits and shit like that, but like last night's lineup, I had Fatima Talia, I had David Lucas, Audrey Stewart, Chad Kroger, Michael Longfellow, and somebody I'm forgetting.
I mean,
and Logan Gunselman.
All fantastic.
All like that's a great LA lineup. That's fucking crazy, right?
Do you think though it's like sometimes we're like, oh, we're so excited. Like I have such a huge comic coming to like one of these shows coming up.
Yeah.
And I told my wife the name, and she's like, "Who is that?"
Yeah, you're right.
And I was like, and I told someone else, I'm like, I don't know who that is.
Sure.
And so like I think sometimes too, it's like we get so excited. It's like for us, and then, but like the audience is like, okay, I don't actually know the credit, I don't know the person, but they'll get over that quickly if they're good.
Dude, I had 2 weeks ago, the homie from New York pulled up, PD Diabreu. You know him?
No.
He's like, you should know him, right? He's like just a funny ass dude from the Bronx.
Yeah.
He came through. I saw he was in town, and I hit him up. I was like, bro, come to my show. The level of excitement I had when I knew that he was going to be on that show was like through the roof. But literally, to your point, no, and more people should know him, right? Like, he's fucking hilarious. And the thing is, in 2 years, more people will know him, right? Like, even maybe a year from now. We never know when your come up's going to come. But like, Yes, I get really excited about shit like that, and I love booking because there is an art to it, and you do like that show last night was crazy, right? But the thing that we want to do with Don't Tell, we want to put these people on. These aren't the Bill Burrs, the Whitney Cummings of the world, but we believe that they will be. And honestly, in all likelihood, one or two of them probably will be, right? Like maybe not that level, but like their own version of that height of success. But we haven't been able to, as a brand, put those people in people's faces as much as we'd like to. And so with this, we're able to utilize TikTok now, obviously, and then like Instagram Reels and Instagram IGTV and stuff, and put their sets out there. And you go to the Don't Tell comedy feed, and it is more our level of killers. Right? Like that lineup, people listening right now, they were like, they might not know one of those names. But I'll tell you right now, if you Googled him, you probably know the face, right? Like Chad Kroger is Chad Goes Deep. That had a huge come up this last year.
Yeah, it's 100,000 followers.
Right.
He was on Ellen.
Yeah, Michael Longfellow was on Conan.
Yeah.
Now I know everybody's been on Conan, but he had a great set on Conan. A lot of people don't have those. Audrey Stewart's just somebody that's blowing up out here.
Yeah, so funny.
We don't know who she's going to be in 4 years, but I know it's going to be somebody.
Yeah.
She's great. She's talented and she's funny and she's great to work with, right?
But that's smart because now, just like the Laugh Factory had one of the biggest stand-up channels, then the Don't Tell channel becomes a destination for stand-up, which makes the comics bigger, which makes it's just like self-reinforcing for the brand, for the comics. And then they become bigger, you become bigger, and it's a win-win for everyone.
It's great. And we've been able to help certain people build an audience. On TikTok, exactly. I know last week, you probably know Darius Bennett, yeah?
I know the name, but
so you should book him. He's fucking hilarious. He's out here.
Actually, I just did a show with him. Yeah, he's really funny.
Yeah. Detroit dude. Mm-hmm. Super funny.
So funny.
And just one of those dudes that and that's LA's crazy, right? It's like I could talk about different names for hours, but there's certain people where you're like, this motherfucker's not popping yet.
Yeah.
And Darius is somebody that in a couple years it's just gonna find his lane, right? And he's finding his lane now, and we're able to observe it. We put him on. He did a set that we put on TikTok, and it's I think it's 3-4 million views, right? What does that mean in TikTok? I don't know enough about TikTok. There's no money that you can make there yet, but that's really cool. 3 million,
good flex.
3-4 million people have eyes on this dude and engaged with it enough where it continued in the algorithm.
Right. It has to mean something.
Yes.
We don't know what. It has to mean something.
It has to mean something.
Yeah.
Because we've put a bunch of people up there, and not a lot of them have gotten that type of traction. So certain people pop. So we're trying to help. Yeah, it's all cyclical, right?
Right.
And also now comics want to come on and they want to get that video from us, right? So now they come on and they do their better set, right? And then it helps the brand, right?
How do you the video gets shot, and then I'm assuming somebody has to look at it and say, all right, this is good enough to be on our channel.
Sure.
And then you don't just put it up, obviously. You got to go to the comic and be like, hey, comic, we like what you did.
Yep.
Can we put it on our channel?
Sure.
Let's say, send it to me. They're like, okay, it looks good. And then it goes up.
Mm-hmm. And then we'll even share it with the individual too, and they can share it on their feed and do whatever they want with it too. And obviously through our channel, we're going to tag as much as possible, and then the hope would be that you get some of that as well. But yeah, there's a bunch. I mean, last night we filmed a set in San Diego. Kyle was down in San Diego. So also we're going to different markets. So we're going to San Francisco. We did one in Phoenix, Vegas. I don't know if he filmed Vegas actually, but we have Vegas going really well. And I think we'll probably, if we haven't filmed there, we will.
Yeah. Don't tell Vegas.
Dude, don't tell Vegas.
That's interesting because Vegas is has so many
venues.
So much entertainment, so much. Are you doing the same style, non-traditional venues? Or is it more traditional in Vegas?
Yeah, no, it's dude, I haven't been there yet, but I know a couple comics just drove out there, and it was really cool. The experience was cool. I don't know what it is. I've seen the pictures, and it's this brewing coffee thing that they have this space. It's a little. Sometimes you just have these in a city where it's this created amphitheater that nobody really fucks with, and we just take it over at night, and then there's a couple spots though. But yeah, it's super cool. And you know what it is in a city like that though, that's where it's perfect. That's where Don't Tell is perfect, because if you're in Vegas, you want to go see comedy, no lie, you're going to buy that ticket, but the night you're going to experience. No disrespect to any comic that's in Vegas right now, but that experience is in a hotel or in a
hotel club?
Casino club. Yeah. That club is pretty much, I've been to 3 or 4 of them. They're all kind of the same, right?
But it's also like I would assume you're gonna get locals. Like more locals for you, like
at ours.
At yours.
Yeah. Because the on the strip is tourists.
Like what's next? Well, yeah.
So we're really we hone in on the locals for sure. Like I know the coolest thing in Phoenix was I would go. There's like a lot of major clubs in Phoenix. What I would try to do is go where the clubs weren't, because those neighborhoods. What happens in those neighborhoods is that's their bubble. They're not leaving that bubble. A lot of these people are like, I'm sure you live over here. I know LA, you got to go places obviously as a comic, but I mean, if you had it your way, you probably wouldn't leave this bubble. You've got a coffee shop you like, you got a couple restaurants you like. You know what I'm saying? You don't leave this
it's nice to like
stay. So we're going to come to you.
Yeah.
So you're not going to have to drive 30 minutes to go to the club downtown or whatever.
Right.
So we're going to go to Chandler, or we're going to go to these little Arcadia, these
wherever
little
that
burbs.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like all the like
the guy
we have
from
about here.
Friends, he has a place there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he's still annoying.
All I can think about every time you take a sip of that water is I want to get a can of that.
Liquid Death. Yeah. It's just so
because I kind of stopped drinking, like, and but I like opening a can.
Dude, yes, I'm a boozy boy, but I feel you. Like, it's nice to not know that this isn't Coors Light in this.
Right.
This is just Mountain Water. It's a good brand thing too, right? Yeah, I fill it with Coors Light every time.
Right, yeah.
It is it's a wild one. Yeah, they've done a good job with the branding. You'll see it. I think you'll see it more and more and more.
Get at us, Liquid Death. Come be our first sponsor.
You know what I'm saying? What's up? But what were we talking about? Shows.
Oh, Vegas, locals.
Locals, yeah. So the locals, that little pocket, they're like, oh, you're coming to us. They feel so like catered to, and that's all they want to feel. That's why they go to the Applebee's, because they cater to them.
Yeah, it's you feel good. It feels right. Mm-hmm. A lot of life is it just feels right. It's not too much of a risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the experience, the risk is always worth it. That's the nice thing is the production of it. We produce a good enough show where 95% of the time it's like that was worth whatever we paid.
And the Instagram is it's like a de-risking platform for a few people. It's for the audience. They're like, all right, this looks legit.
Yeah.
For the comics, they look at it like, okay, so all right, these people have been on it. All right, I can either text them or all right, if they've done it, I can do it too.
And that's been the huge thing with booking. So I'm newer to this town, but I'm like plugged in a weird way. Yeah. Like the one thing I was conscious of in Phoenix is being the dude in Phoenix. What you had to do is network with me when you came to Phoenix. So I actually weirdly know when I came to LA, people were like, "Oh, you live here now?" Because everybody knew me in Phoenix, right?
Right.
And I was booking shows, so I knew headliners, I knew features, I knew all the people, all levels. So when I came out here, my booking I was able to really just tap into who I knew. And then it does get hard, though. Like, I have a couple blind spots. Like, there's definitely, like, I could book the rest of the year with just straight white men. I know that. But, like, I don't know.
Do you think that's a byproduct of, I mean, I would say demographically, it's probably... There's more straight white men in comedy than other demographics.
Right. That's but you know how it is. You just want to book diversity. First of all, you want to book funny. Like we always want to do that. But in LA, like I know in like Kansas City or like these different markets, like it's hard to really sometimes get a really diverse lineup consistently. In LA, you can book a diverse every fucking time. But I just am not that plugged in. Like there's a whole black comedy scene out here that I just don't know more than 5 people. So getting to know that, just getting to know more female comics out here and stuff like that. And then just creepily sliding into their DMs and really offending them. You know what I mean?
Right. That's the long game. That's a good way.
That's the long game. No, just like getting to know these different.
Yeah, that's a different reason why they call it Don't Tell.
Yeah, exactly. I'm Mike. I listen. You guys should know me. No, but like, well, that's also another thing too, is like that DM slide to like book somebody. Don't be a fucking creep, right? Like be like,
hey. I never do it from my personal. I always do it from the show page.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I'll do it from mine, but then on my thing, it says like, don't tell comedy. So like they immediately know.
Yeah.
But,
it is interesting. Like I've had the gamut of like some people like you'd be surprised like how big and famous they are who respond to DMs.
Dude, yes.
And some of them who are like, who don't. So it's like, you never know.
Dude, 100%. Yeah. I've DM'd a couple people just shooting it out there.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I'm in a conversation with
Sometimes
this
you're just on the
now.
couch. You're like, I'm going to take this shot right now.
Yeah. It's so funny. And then the other thing too is like, to your point with people seeing who was on the show and then vouching that way, right, with Instagram and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm always conscious of that. And then I'm always conscious of my reputation being new in this city. You want to be able to, you know, I want somebody to read a DM, talk to two people and be like, who the fuck is this guy? And them say, you should do that show, or he's a good dude.
Right.
So that's like a big thing, being newer into a scene.
Yeah, reputation is everything, really.
Everything. And this is my first time meeting a lot of these people. So
yeah, it's weird for you to say like new in the scene, because I only know you from this scene. So I'm like, you don't seem that new.
And I met you probably like the first month I was there, right?
Oh, okay.
But I did know, but I felt like it's funny because I think immediately I was like somebody that people were like, I think I know this guy, or I feel like I felt comfortable out here immediately.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I met you with, I think I was hanging with Chappelle probably.
Chappelle. It was a crew. I was at the Comedy Store. There was just a group of us hanging out. Yeah.
And then, and I think we were bullshitting at Carney's too, right down the street.
Yeah.
And just shooting the shit. And you could tell that's the weird thing in LA. It's like, well, these two people know him in this group circle,
right?
So I'm gonna not treat him like an idiot. And then it's always. But
it's more than that. Like, you can treat someone who knows somebody like an idiot. But it's like your energy. You have a good energy. So I was like, I like this guy. I mean, enough to like, well, I was like, hey, I want to have this guy on the podcast and all that.
Right.
Stuff, so.
And I appreciate you. Yeah. And so yeah, but it is funny. I literally moved in January of 2020. So this whole year has been. I had a fucking game plan too, and it's just all been wiped away. But it reiterated itself in a completely different way that I didn't know. I wasn't going to be this person for Don't Tell. I was already doing it for Phoenix, but like some things changed, and then now I'm kind of the point person for Los Angeles and
Phoenix or LA?
And Phoenix still, and
you're like the southwest guy.
I'm running the Southwest. We're moving into El Paso.
I just picture you guys all in like a corporate meeting room. You got like a picture of the map. You're just like pointing it. You're putting pins.
Yeah.
It's like or even better on like a table where you're like moving like military pieses over.
Sure.
Like, with a fucking...
It's like, all right, can we get this Latino comic to go here to do this, because we need to build out this lineup. Yeah, it's funny. It's cool. I love it. I love figuring out the business side of it. I love it's like, you know, it's so cliche, but it's called show business, right?
Yeah.
And like I love doing comedy. That's like the thing that I love, and I think that's why obviously both of us are in it, right? Like the 10, 15 minutes of, or you know, even fucking 3-4 minutes out here, right? Of standing on that stage and connecting with people and telling your dick jokes, like
right.
Love that. But like I really do like creating things, like creating a show and like figuring out, knowing that you're going to fuck up for the first couple shows maybe, but don't fuck up that bad. Fuck up in a way where it doesn't deter people from coming back, right? Make the show good, but learn the business side of it. What did you do wrong money-wise here? Or could you have negotiated this better with this venue? Or
a good show looks like it happens by itself on autopilot, but it does not.
It's stressful.
It's more than the stress, though. It's like if you pay attention to the details, no one will know. Like no one will visually notice exactly that detail. But the more things you take care of, the more they just naturally feel like something magical happened. Because it is magical when the lineup goes well, when it builds. There's a certain rhythm to the show. Mm-hmm. Like people aren't talking in the background. Like that's. It all makes it special.
It's and it's one of those things too where at the end of the night where nobody notices anything wrong, that's when all the hard work paid off, right? It's like when nothing is noticed, that actually means you did everything right.
Exactly. You just worded it much better than I did. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
That's my last don't tell pen.
That's one of my skill sets. Is really just taking people's long meandering sentences and putting it into 8 words.
Perfect. Yeah. It's a good editor.
Yeah, there you go. But it's funny. I always say that about shows, and then also like a host too, because you host yours, or do you do sets?
Historically, I've done both.
Okay.
I hosted a lot of them. I don't host anymore.
Oh, good.
I'm not saying I won't ever not host them, but I like not hosting because it frees me up. no matter what, I can put as many helpers or point people or co-producers on the show.
Yeah.
People are still going to come to me for like, where are the scissors?
Right.
Or like just random stuff. So it's nice to be free.
Yeah.
And just be like, all right, people are going to come ask me stuff and I'm going to do my set.
Yeah.
And like, usually I'm the person who's booked the comic or knows the comic the most of the people who are on the team. So I'm like, hey, I can go, hey, what's up? How you doing? And just chop it up with them for a minute before they go on stage. So I've kind of liked that more.
That's way better. I'm probably going to try to pivot to that because, dude, I'll be running around. The stress of like getting the show going, seating everybody the right way, making sure the lights are going. Is the music still playing? Why is that track still going? Am I on repeat right now with this playlist?
Right.
Like all that type of stuff. And then like I look at the clock and I'm like, oh shit, I got to go jump on stage. And I wanted to do this new 5 minutes, but I'm literally so stressed that I forgot what the new 5 minutes.
So you're hosting right now?
So I'm hosting right now.
Yeah.
It's stressful.
I would move away from it.
I know. I'm consciously like thinking about how to do it, and then the other thing is, so I brought up hosting because like hosting is its own skill set. The way that like nobody notices when a show is something's wrong with the show, the host too. If nobody remembers you, you did a really good job as a host. Like if somebody remembers you, it's for the wrong reason. Right.
You started. It's like you do. It should be like this scale where it's like you do the most, and then as time goes on, you do less and less between each comic because we're trying to move this thing along.
It is the most important, unimportant person on the show.
You're Mr.
Gems.
Concise.
Gems.
Just taking everything into 3 words.
Yeah.
You're like haikus of like
show
production.
You know, it's stuff. I'm selling all this stuff on Etsy.
Yeah, I get shirts.
Yeah, that's my brand. Is just.
Yeah, I like that I was able to develop that show hosting skill over time.
Yeah, it is a skill set.
Yeah,
and it's an important one.
It's important. You end up you have to make the room glue the room together. You got to do a little bit of crowd work so you can get that out of the way usually, unless someone's like really said, hey, I'm going to do a bunch of crowd work. Don't do that.
Yeah.
But like that doesn't happen very often.
Right.
But it's like, you got to like glue it together because you can feel like when the host just does, hey, how's it going? Material.
Yeah.
The crowd hasn't settled in yet.
Right.
And then basically comic 2 or 3 has to rehost.
Yeah. Right. Oh, that's the worst when you're the second or third and you're like, oh, this dude didn't host at all.
Right.
I'm hosting now.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's always the worst. And then, but a lot of the times the comics know that more than the audience, right? The audience is like, what was up with the host? Which again, you don't want to be remembered for that. But then the next dude just goes up and hosts, but they don't know that.
Yeah.
You just did the thing that you just set the room. It is crazy.
Ali Makovsky did that really well one time. It was the improv main room, and she went up, and it was in between, I think they turned the room, or like different shows. Something happened, but like, or people left, and the place was like spread out. So there was like a few people on the left, a few people on the right, and she took time out of her set to be like, all right, we're going to make this show better. You're going to move here. You're going to move here. Come here.
That's great.
And she like brought the room together and then did her set. I was like, okay, well, that's someone who knows what they're doing.
She's still like, it's so crazy to me how young she is and so advanced. She gets better like every couple months. I'm like, oh, she's so funny to me. And that's cool to hear too, because she has such a funny set. But the hosting skills, sometimes you'll be like 3-4 years in and you just forget that you also came up as a host. That thing never, like, I know, so we both know Chappelle Lacey is.
Yeah. I don't even know if she came up as a host. I'm just saying she was attuned to the room.
She understood what needed to happen to enhance the experience of the audience
Right.
and every comedian after her.
Yeah.
Somebody needed to do that.
Oh, I mean, she worked at the Comedy Store, so I'm sure that you can't, like, unlearn that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know me and Chappelle were just talking about it recently, though. That he had just a rowdy show in Texas, and it rowdy enough where somebody needed to have that conversation with the audience, right?
Yeah.
You need to tell this pocket to shut the fuck up, and you probably need to crowd work these people and whatever. And the host just wasn't able to do it. It was just a younger comic that was a little probably overwhelmed by the situation, and Chappelle was in the feature spot. And what he did was just so necessary he had a conversation with the headliner afterwards, but it was like, what you did needed to happen. Somebody needed, because then you're just putting the headliner up there, and he had to do that for the.
It's just getting knocked further and further down the line.
Somebody's got to do this, right?
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be the headliner. It should never be the headliner. By the time the headliner gets on, they should be in the best possible comedy situation where they're ready.
Yeah.
And you sometimes just have to fall on that grenade, and it could take, if you're doing 20, you're literally saying, there goes 5 minutes of my shit.
Yeah.
To deal with this.
Right.
But if you do it, it's just that's an art form in itself.
It's a win-win for everybody.
It is, because also you as a comic, you do feel better about.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have a better. You're 17 left. You're gonna do better.
Crush.
Yeah. Well, this has been great. Can we wrap up on one thing?
Yeah.
So, how do you handle booking? Because it's something that every comic / producer or just producer has to deal with.
Yeah, every producer for sure. Yeah, most comics live their whole life never having to book, and good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, I had gone so long without booking any shows, like, being the booker for a show, so to speak.
Sure.
And I loved it. I loved
not doing it. Right.
Yeah.
Sure. It is. Yeah. So coming up, the 8 years in Phoenix helped me to understand how to book a show, which is its own art form, right? Like you want to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, all the different energy. And the best thing that I learned there was also how to tell people no, because I was booking some of the better shows, right? Like I was proud to have people on the show, the Genuine show. Like I always thought it was only like 8-minute sets, but like in a scene that's developing, a lot of people can't do 8. So
I mean,
yeah. Shoot, in a developed scene, a lot of people can't do 8, right? So I always kind of treated that show as like me anointing somebody, which was kind of an arrogant way to look at it. But like, if you're the dude on the scene, like people do look up to you in a way. Like,
yeah.
Don't be not aware of that.
What you're like de facto passing them
in a way, right? Like it's fucking bar show, right? But like it was a good ass bar show. I brought out 30, 40 people that you didn't hustle, and don't embarrass me. I put you on the show. So, but the biggest thing I learned from doing that was like how to tell people no when they hit you up, and
how do you tell people no? Because that's the hardest, especially, I'm sure maybe in Phoenix is different, but saying no in LA is the hardest thing to do because it's like so personal.
It's so personal. I think it's, so in Phoenix, what I would do, I would just tell people like, hey, I've seen you do a set before. We usually book people to do about 8 minutes. I've never seen you do 8 minutes. It was pretty blunt. I'm pretty blunt sometimes, but I also am unapologetic in that too. I don't really care. I do think, to your point though, that's easier to do in that scene where I had that, I was at that level. Whereas in this scene, you could piss the wrong person off, or just not the wrong person off, but people are just in their fucking feelings out here.
Yeah, but it's also like there's a it's like a dynamic scene here where like you could be saying no to somebody for comedic reasons who has a lot of power in other things in LA.
Right.
So there's
layers.
I'm sure in Phoenix you're saying no to a comic.
But what's the backlash?
There's no backlash. Yeah. They don't have any other power in entertainment. Right. And that's it.
But what I would do, so the verbiage I would just tell people is like, for Genuine, is I'll reach out to you. That's what I would always say is don't hit me up. People knew not to hit me up about it. They might, but it would be like, I'll reach out to you if I'm ever going to book you. So just know that, and that kind of set the tone for what our DMs would look like, right?
Right.
It's like, remember when I told you I'd reach out to you? But keep doing your thing. I see you out here, blah, blah, blah. Now here
that's good. I think that's nice and polite.
Yeah. And it's also like, it lets them know how I book, right?
Right.
I'll reach out to you. People that are on the show, I've reached out to. I'm aware of what's going on in the scene. Out here, I do the same thing. I haven't ever had to have that conversation as much. The nice thing with Don't Tell is sometimes I can just do a push off pretty easily, because I do want to book a lot of these people. But right now, there's people that I definitely want to, that haven't been doing shit. For example, somebody's hitting me up out of town. I've told that person straight up, I said, I appreciate that you're coming to town right now. We haven't had comedy here in a year, and I'm prioritizing Los Angeles comedians.
Right. That's a good answer too.
That's a good answer. Yeah. So that's the out of town push off. But I'll reach out to you for booking stuff is the other one too, because I know enough good comics, like that lineup last night, right? Like in the lineup that I've had the past couple weeks, like I'm super proud of, and I would show those to anybody and be like, I think I know what I'm fucking doing.
Right.
Like, so.
Yeah.
But you do have to just,
in a way, it's like showing, what you're doing more than just booking the top 10 people on Netflix.
Dude, I'm not booking anybody with credits.
But almost if you took a person off the street and said, go find me 10 of the best comics in the world, they could, if they'd never seen comedy, they could just go to Netflix and pick 10, and they'd probably get most of them right.
Yeah. Yeah. So there is like, I'm, and I also understand who to trust with my recommendations right now too. Like I could just be the dude that's like, hey, who's funny to anybody?
Yeah.
But you know as much as I do, like there's only certain people I'll take a recommendation from, and there's certain people that I'll never take a recommendation from because the one time I took a recommendation from them.
Right. But it's also like there's like layers of currency in this town, and sometimes people use recommending them to your show as an in with them.
Sure.
To get something.
I've gotten that. And it hasn't backfired on me because the person was also somebody I knew and trusted.
Yeah.
But I know what you're talking about. And that is, it's navigating all the things. I think coming up in the smaller scene, I saw some of the tricks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And observe them. And also being in Phoenix, you do get the outside, you get the LA, New York, how they approach, I should be on the show shit. So yeah, with it, I'm sure there's people out there that hate me because I am not as responsive as they want me to be right now.
I don't think you can be hated for no response though.
I've done some no responses.
I think no response is kind of like, it's mysterious.
Yeah.
I think you can be hated for a no though.
Yes. That's why, but I'm always super conscious of how to do the no, to your point. I think direct communication is important, and I think with the out of town stuff, I do think that that's fair for me to say too. Like, you're in LA. Like, I feel like we should prioritize. We haven't fucking had comedy here, and most of these people that I'm booking haven't done shit in like 12 months.
Yeah.
And they should be doing more shit. These are very talented people. So
I felt that way internally because like normally I go to New York every year for a couple of weeks to do shows, and like I'm like, am I really gonna hit up people in a city that like they haven't even had spots yet? I'm like, and I was just like, I started to have that feeling internally.
Yeah, but you're self-aware. And that's also probably why you're going to be a good booker and a good comic, right? Like moving forward and a good show producer, because self-awareness is like one of the most important traits in this business that we're going into.
Yet all this unself-aware people end up here.
Dude, it is insane.
You can tell by the conversations they have in coffee shops. Like, oh yeah, my audition. Oh yeah, that was. I'm like, we don't care.
Dude, I think a lot of times I will. You can judge a comic just as much what they do off stage as what they do on stage. And I'll never have to see you go on stage if I have a conversation with you and you express to me how much you lack self-awareness and all that shit. Like I always say, the cliche is it's not what you know, it's who you know. But if you meet the who and you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, you fuck the whole thing up. So like there's so many people that don't understand how to present themselves in a way where I talk to them, I'm like, oh, you lack so much self-awareness that there's no way you're a good comedian, because the most important thing to do on stage is to be self-aware.
Right.
To understand when I'm giving and what the audience is giving me back and how I present myself and shit like that. So like this conversation right now just leads me to believe that you're probably a trash comic and you might have good 5 minutes, but like you ain't going to be here in 5 years. So I have a really good gauge on things like that. I do pride myself in that, and I'm always like, and I'm usually right? And I think I wouldn't continue to do the things I do and how I book.
Yeah,
and how
if you were
if it wasn't working
wrong, your shows wouldn't be good.
Right, exactly. So like
everyone. Look, I'm sure everyone has said no to someone who ends up being great or is great.
Yeah,
that's just part of. You can't get everything right.
Yeah. And I've had some swings and misses too, and I've learned from those already.
Oh yeah, those are fun.
Dude, I had 2 different people I remember thinking like, all right, they've got a good following. I'd never seen them. I know that they're associated with these people through social media, blah, blah, blah. I booked both of them on separate shows and had them do 12 minutes. Because that's the other thing too. Like I can't book everybody and Don't Tell. You how many people can do 12 minutes in this city?
Yeah.
How many people think they can?
Is it always 12 with Don't Tell?
No, but it's usually like 8 to 10. But I also won't book you to do 8 if I don't think you can do 12. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I want somebody. 10 is that nice like a 10-minute set. I need you to be really fucking strong 10-minute set in a club setting. Like, would you be able to do that on a weekend club sold out show? And people are like, well, it's sold out show, it's easier. Well, no, it's different. And I know when you kill and you think you kill, but it's not the killing that you think that it was. Because I saw the dude after you murder.
Yeah.
You killed. He murdered. It was mass murder there. Yeah. Like
can you stay focused sometimes and do your actual set for 12 minutes?
100%. Yeah. So I had these people to do that, and it was the classic as a host. I'm up there and it's like, I didn't even light them yet, and it's 8 minutes in, and they're like, okay, so I'm all right, have a good night. And I'm like, what? From the back of the room, and I'm like jetting up.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
You went short.
You couldn't even do 10?
Yeah.
Like, at least if I lit you at 10, get off at 10. Like, I don't care if I light you and then you get right off, that's different. But like, they didn't even get to the light. And
I haven't seen that in a while.
Dude, right? And also, that wasn't a grade 8, right? Like, I get why you got off. It wasn't working. So that's the deceptive thing in LA, is understanding that they might have fucking so many followers that you're in your mind, you're like, they gotta be good.
Right.
No. It means nothing.
They can be just as guilty by association as good by association.
Yes. So learning that. So I've done a couple of those things.
What is the right way? Like, so I've used this example before, and so I won't do it again, but like, for example, like Paige Weldon gave me an amazing email that was like, this is how you book. It's like, hi, I'd like to do your show. I notice it's on Wednesdays. Here's the Wednesdays I'm available. Here's a clip of me on whatever. Thank you so much. And to me, I was like, this is perfect.
You're talking about the communication, how to get booked?
Yeah, like what do you want to see from someone to reach out to you? Because there's going to be people always reaching out.
Right.
And for me, I thought that was a good one. So I'd like to get your opinion on, did you also agree that's a good one?
I don't mind that. I think that's tough because this is Paige, improv Paige.
No, Paige Weldon, the comic.
Okay. So I don't know Paige Weldon, but because I'm thinking that makes sense maybe from like, yeah, that isn't, first of all, that's not, I'm not offended by that. Sometimes you get offended by a message, the way people message you. You're like, this isn't it. This isn't it at all. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like, I shouldn't be this angry.
Sometimes when I get angry, I'm like, is it me?
Oh, it probably is. Yeah, 100%. This person.
I'm like, I don't think it is. But it might be. So
Yeah.
I try not to, but sometimes you're like, God.
I will say a good vouch is always going to be the key. It's a people industry. Most industries are like this, but like, if you lead with this person told me to reach out, and then I trust that person. Yeah. Because sometimes you put the wrong name in there too. This person told me to reach out. It's like, well, you're out, because I don't trust that person. I'm kind of pissed off that they told you to reach out. Right. Right. So they didn't even tell me that. The best, in my opinion, the best way that I take care of people when I vouch is somebody hits me up and they say, and this is the way to get booked on a lot of shit too. If you know the person that can vouch for you is close enough with the person to get booked, hit them up and say, hey, I'd love to do that show. Would you mind hitting that person up and vouching for me? I would then message that person. That's a good way. I like that. Yeah. I would message that person first and say, hey, this person's going to hit you up. Good dude. He's in town these days. Put him on the show. You also have to build your status up to be able to say that to somebody, right? That's a whole different thing. Yeah. Right.
Assuming you're there. Yeah.
Assuming you're there. But and hopefully you know somebody that is there, right, and can vouch. That's the biggest thing, is you get a good vouch. Send that message, and then you know that message is already sent, and then you, as the comic trying to get booked, send the message, say, hey, Mike told me to hit you up. I'm in town these days. Would love to do some shows. If you got any time, I appreciate it. That to me is the easiest way in this industry, in my opinion. I don't know. That always works for me. The clip stuff is always weird. How often are you watching the clip?
I don't ever watch a clip.
I never watch a clip.
I don't ever watch a clip for this reason. I don't want to be in a position where I'm judging other people's clips. Yes. That's just like, I don't, even if it could be the best clip ever. If it's like, hey, here's my Tonight Show, I'll be like, it'll trigger something and be like, all right, they did the Tonight Show. Yes. I mean, so it's like, very rarely does that go poorly.
But I'm not gonna watch your YouTube.
But I'm not gonna. Well, I'm just not gonna watch. I'm not gonna watch that. I'll just be like, all right, they did it in the Tonight Show.
Oh, that's fair.
I just don't want to. I don't want to be judging other people's clips. I just feel weird about it.
Right, and it's not. Oftentimes, it's not a great representation of the type of comic you are. I know I don't translate that great to video sometimes, but I know that if you see me, you'd book me on something else. Hopefully, like if it was a good set that night.
I watched one of your YouTubes before. It was good.
Did you?
Yeah.
No, thank you.
It was from like 5 years ago, and it was good.
It was
Stand Up New York.
Oh, dude, that was a long time ago. That was a good one though.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's like the most views I have on one actually.
It's probably why the first one that came up.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
I just said I don't watch clips, and I watch.
And then it's like I watched yours. Yeah.
Well, I'm not trying to book you for something. I didn't watch it be like based on your hey, can you book me? Watch my clip.
Yeah. Right. That is very true. I've done that too. I've also booked people and then like had this weird like before the weekend be like, did I book the right person? I'm gonna go watch their clip.
Yeah.
I've done that. But yeah, if you DM me the clip, I'm probably never gonna watch that. So know that.
Yeah.
A hard vouch is always gonna be better. Be aware of who that vouch is coming from and what my relationship with that individual is.
This is like some real Inception stuff. It's like multi-layered.
But it is real though.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm going over all the booking mistakes I've made already. Just
right. Because
Recently.
there's only certain people that I trust. And,
Yeah.
And then I'm also a really good read of individuals like acumen on how they understand the scene too.
Yeah.
And you do want to trust people that have comparable perspectives on comedy to you. Some people I've got really good friends that I look at their lineups, I'm like, that's the comedy you like. And first of all, there's an audience for the comedy that they like.
Right.
It ain't my audience. It's not what we're trying to do. So, and a lot of times like, what does a late night set even mean anymore? That is the weird thing too. Like, no disrespect, but like if it's not like Fallon or something like that, like, I mean, also like I said, Longfellow was on Conan, but a Conan set doesn't mean that much anymore.
It's still, I mean, it's a certain like, it's a hoop that you manage to get through a couple bookers that are very selective.
Right.
It's something.
It is something, 100%. But like I'll go watch your Conan set, and it's like, oh, you are very soft spoken, and you write really good tight jokes. I'm doing shows on a rooftop garage. I need somebody that can speak pretty loud. Like you could be the most soft-spoken, like hilarious comic in the world. I'm not going to book you on these outdoor shows.
What if they include their decibel level in there?
I need that. I need
66 dBs.
I need that decibel level, dude. I've been conscious of that too. There's a couple people I love.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you need an intimate coffee shop to crush.
I need someone to turn the mic up and down who like I feel like that. I never have that person.
Sure.
Do you guys have an active sound guy?
No.
Or girl?
It's me, dude. I'll sometimes.
Yeah, it's me. I end up if someone's like very loud or very quiet, I end up just going up and adjusting it slightly.
Yeah.
But like that can be kind of jarring to the crowd too.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. But but booking has been fun. Booking in LA is like a whole new thing.
Yeah.
But I do feel very proud of where I'm at with it, and and I look forward to like getting to know. There's so many people that I don't know, but just know that the way to get to know me is not just through a blind DM and being
so basically like a blind is like a no-go.
It doesn't mean that I'm not gonna book you, but like if the best way, I'm not gonna watch your clip. I want to see you. I'm trying to be out more. We obviously shows are coming back, so I'm gonna be out more. I'll probably book you in person at a fucking show now that shows are back, right? Like I'll probably watch your set and be like, hey, can you do my shit?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna watch your clip.
I love those. I love just being somewhere and being like, oh, I need this.
Yes.
And just hitting them right there in person.
And also, can you do that same set? How about booking somebody and you watch a certain set and then they come back and they do a completely different set that just doesn't work and you're like, okay, that's fine.
I've never had that. Actually.
I've had that.
Yeah.
I've had that for sure. And I'm like, you should do the other set. You didn't read this situation very well. I've had not a lot, but I've definitely had that.
I had someone be like, hey, do you want me to do well with the old stuff or like, can I do some new stuff? I'm like, do whatever feels good.
I do that too. Yeah. I actually appreciate when people.
It's only happened to me once, but it was a very good comic. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting question. I'm like, you do whatever you want to do. It's fine.
A lot of times that person is aware enough to know that this new shit's probably gonna work too, and hopefully you would know that too.
And it did,
dude.
yeah.
Pete Lee just did. He closed it out 2 weeks ago with. First of all, this lineup was crazy too. I had Brian Moses, Dave Ross, Brian Vokey, Eleanor Kerrigan, and Pete Lee.
Yeah.
5 like completely different comics, and it was such a fun show.
Yeah.
Pete goes up, does 20, and to close it out, and he's literally just reading new jokes, and I was like, this is great because
Pete's new jokes are like solid with like multiple tags,
and when they fail, it's like the cutest thing in the world because he's just such, his personality like works in a way where you're like, that's great that just failed about this fucking this pug that you thought was cute or whatever the joke is.
Yeah, I did that Comedy Cottage with him recently, and
I heard that's good.
That's a great show because it's like people are having fun.
Good.
They're drinking and having food.
Sure.
And it's like it's an Irish bar type place, but
spot.
outside in a tent. You know what they do, the inside outside thing.
Sure.
And great, it was so fun.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that one is going good, and the outdoor stuff is cool to navigate too because I always need you need either like a tent, you need some level of like closure in the sound. So the one downtown that I just had with that lineup I was just mentioning had a huge back wall, huge front wall, and I was like, this is beautiful. Yeah. That's when I get excited. When I find a new location where I'm like, this is gonna be so fucking dope.
Yeah.
That's the next level of. That's better than even sometimes a new 5.
Totally.
I'm like, fuck yeah, this show's gonna be great.
Ali Wong dropped in and did like a surprise on that show, and it was like, this is like where the two brains, like producer and comic thing, can like kind of affect you because it's like we're hanging out in a little circle talking, and like Pete's there and stuff, and it's like you just want to be chill, but part of me wants to be like, Ali, can you do the show? And it took everything in me to not ask.
Dude, I did that recently, and I remember regretting how I did it. But she still did the show, Sarah Tiana. She was super nice and all that. But yeah, I ran up on her on, there's another good weekly, Chirp and Turf.
Okay, yeah.
Jay Lights running it.
Jay Lights, yeah.
And like I said, like one of my blind spots is just not enough good women I know. I'm just not networked with them well enough. And I saw her and I was like, I need to get Sarah Tiana on this.
Yeah.
And the way that I approached it, I remember right after I was like, that was aggressive.
Yeah.
That's too much. She was like trying to leave and I was like, I'm Mike.
Right. Cause you're kind of like, it's kind of the same thing of like asking a woman on a date.
Yeah.
It's the same energy.
100%. You're like, hey, I swear I'm good. Yeah. It's so weird. But she said yes and she came through and she crushed.
Right.
Now I got her digits. It's
right.
big.
So part of me is like, oh, I should have, but then I'm like, I'll always take the playing it cool to my detriment than like being too aggressive.
I've definitely done that. I do always think like, what's the worst that can happen? They say no.
Yeah.
But I do think that you're not wrong, and the way that you present that question matters a lot too, because you could present it in too harsh of a way.
Yeah.
Where not only are they saying no now, they're saying no
forever. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, it's you're
like comedy haikus.
Yes, that's a no. Forever no. That's an eternal no.
Yeah. And also like you'll remember that they've said no for the rest of your life. They won't remember at all.
Yeah. You could easily ask them in 4 months and they won't
remember
you
at all. Yeah.
It's like Don Draper in the elevator.
Exactly. It's like,
I don't think about you at all.
Right. I love that show.
Dude, I rewatched that during quarantine.
I was thinking about rewatching it.
Dude, have you done it once?
Only once.
Do it. It was one of the most. Have you rewatched shows before?
I have rewatched shows. I don't remember which ones.
So this year I did like a bunch of them. I did the old school. First of all, I've watched The Wire like 6 or 7 times. It's unhealthy. But I did Sopranos, Mad Men, and Breaking Bad. Mad Men might have been the most enjoyable rewatch.
I want to do Sopranos.
That was a great one.
Yeah, I would totally do Mad Men again.
Mad Men was so good.
Yeah.
The second time you're like...
I'm rewatching actually Larry Sanders' show.
I did that.
Yeah.
I did that when he passed.
Okay.
Because they put it back out on HBO.
Yeah.
How fucking good is that?
It's so good.
I was blown away by... Because you now just watch comedy as we watch comedy shows like Community and The Office and shit like that. And you're like, this dude was like 40 years ahead. Well, not obviously, he was like 20 years ahead of like all that shit. What was that, like mid-90s?
Yeah, like mid to late 90s.
That show is every comedy we watch now.
Yeah.
like way before any. It's so nuts that was going on when Friends and
Seinfeld
shit was going on. You're like, what is this?
Yeah.
And also, fucking Hank might be one of the best characters.
The best to play that character, to be so self-aware, to play an unself-aware person. Like,
I thought he was great in. He's one of my favorite characters
Jeffrey
in Arrested Development too.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's so funny. But what he did in Larry Sanders Show is like, and also what's his name? Rip Torn.
Oh, Rip Torn is incredible.
What's his name in that? Artie.
Artie, yeah.
Dude, Artie's great. Both those characters are two. You could argue two of the greatest like peripheral characters in any sitcom.
Oh, by far.
It's nuts.
That scene where Jeremy Piven comes in and he's drunk.
Yes.
Or his character's drunk.
Yeah.
And then he's trying to hug Larry, and Rip's like, "Get out of here." He's holding him back, and Larry says, "It's okay, let him." He gives him the quick hug, and the second he touches
Larry's
him, he's like taps Rip to like get him off him.
Yeah.
I'm like, just the little stuff like that was such a great scene.
Have you gotten to the part where he has 2 tickets to the Tyson fight?
Oh yeah, I've seen it all.
That shit is so funny to me. He's like, "Show me the tickets. You
Yeah.
got 2 tickets." I don't have 2 tickets. I want to go to your party. I love. That's a good rewatch.
Yeah, and the finale was like,
it's emotional.
It's so emotional. Yeah.
It's that I love. I'm thinking about him as Larry Sanders. I know that's not his name. Gary Shandling.
Yeah.
And
He
RIP.
did it twice because the other it's Larry Sanders show.
The OG one.
Oh, sorry, it's the Gary Shandling show.
Right.
Before that
was like super meta.
Super meta, talking to the camera.
Yeah.
Where he played himself in the show, like
nuts.
Yeah.
So
one of the first comedians to play a comedian in a sitcom.
Break the fourth wall.
Break the fourth wall. Yeah.
Nuts. That show. It's so rewarding to watch it if you're a fan of not current comedy, but the last 15 years of comedy, because I think current shows they're doing their own thing now. Now it's just dramedies.
Yeah.
Now it's like, how emotional can you be after the laugh? It's like, what?
It is interesting though, to today's generation, saying like how good these shows from the 90s, like Friends, Seinfeld, Larry Sanders, if you say that to them, it's the equivalent of our parents saying, "I Love Lucy."
Yeah.
Like time-wise.
Yeah.
Which we would have been like, "Get out of here."
I know.
So they're probably like, "Yeah, shut up."
But also, you do go back and watch I Love Lucy. You're like, this is
I'm not saying it's bad, but when you're young, you're like, all right,
get the fuck out of here. Yeah.
But at least it's not
the
black
Honeymooners.
I also feel that like media now, there's sort of some consistency, because it's like, okay, but then you're going back, okay, well, it's like World War II, it's a black and white, like things are so different.
Right.
But like you can listen to like music from the early 2000s, you're like, all right, it's not that different.
Yeah, true. Hip hop is they were talking a lot more about money. Now they're emotional.
That's changed.
Yeah, but that's true.
But it's not like so out of context. Like,
right.
You could kind of play, if your hip hop playlist goes from like 2000 to 2020,
sure,
there's going to be a through line.
Post 9/11.
Post 9/11. Yeah.
It's all the same.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was a big changing point in our lives.
So I have one last question. This has been great. I hope it's not going too long.
No,
for you.
you're good.
Have you ever had to cancel someone? Not like cancel like your career's done, but like have you ever had like a lineup and then something changes?
Yeah.
And now you're like, okay, now for whatever reason, either it's too white or it's too this. Have you ever had to call someone and be like, hey, can I move you to a show?
I've done that. Usually, if I ever do it, I need to know that I know the person, and I'll probably like really be honest and be like, hey, I need you to do this. So I've definitely done that. I've done it also in subtle ways where I'm like, usually if I ever do that, I like take all the ownership and be like, I fucked up.
Yeah.
I apologize. I need to do this, and I owe you something down the line.
I've fucked up where it's like the person texts me is like, wasn't I on this show? And after the flyer comes out, I'm like,
I've done that. Oh. I've done that a lot. I used to do that in Phoenix a lot, and then
yeah.
And then I would just message them. I was like, I fucked up. I didn't put you on the flyer, but still come through.
Yeah, that's what I did.
But then also they're like, all right, fuck you though. And then that night, there's an interaction where they're like, I know you forgot me. They still know that you.
Luckily, the person I did it's only happened once or twice. They were both people I knew well. We're like, oh shit, no worries.
The nice thing was I've fucked it up a couple times, and the other person was a producer too. And it's like, look.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It is crazy. A producer to a producer conversation is different because you understand how easy it is to just slip your mind or whatever. You didn't write your name down that one day when we had the interaction.
On the wrote it on the wrong day.
Yeah, or whatever.
I've done all of them. Yeah, it just goes to show like there's an element of like we all want to be liked in a way as people, but also as once you cross into the performer, you're like, okay, well now I have to be liked.
Yeah.
But also it's like there's a way to be liked too, which is not caring if you're liked. It also makes people like you.
Yeah.
Like people are confident that they're not trying to seek your approval. That can be like, oh, I like that guy.
You know what's so funny is I have that energy. I don't give a fuck if people like me, but like if you were my girlfriend laying in bed with me at night, you realize I really care about what people like me. You know what I mean? At the end of the night, I'm like,
and she's listening right now.
She's listening. Yeah, it's like I'm telling her like, you think I do this too much or whatever. I'm always like, I do want people to like me inherently. I think in comedy, that's why we probably seek the approval on stage and stuff like that. But I would say my energy for the most part is like, I think I don't know. It's always a constant battle. I think I put so much weight on the fact that I think people like me, then I've convinced myself, fuck what people think.
Yeah. But like, you don't give me the fuck what people think attitude. You seem very like pleasant. Like all this stuff I'm hearing from the production angle, I'm like, all right, you go, Mike. I didn't know you had that side.
I appreciate it. Yeah, that's good. Then, it's that, you know, born and raised in the Midwest. We know how to present in a very like amicable way and all that shit. But also, if I need to be an asshole, it's just right underneath.
Yeah.
But it's not. You're not an asshole, right? I'm being a diplomatic asshole if I ever am being an asshole.
Right. We'll follow this diplomatic asshole tell us your socials.
Turner Comedy.
And
then also obviously support Don't Tell Comedy.
Support the Don't Tell. They're great shows.
Yeah. So, but yeah, appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for doing it. And we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Later.
All right.